once again, it's Matthew here. Thanks for watching my latest video. This is part 3 of the video about the Amstrad PC3086, which is a desktop PC from 1990 or thereabouts. But as ever, if you find these videos interesting, if you like the sort of content I make, please think about subscribing. It really does help the channel to grow, and also sharing videos on social media also really helps. Now, from last time we did a video on this, everything was kind of working apart from one thing, and that was the MIDI interface card. I wasn't able to record properly into the computer. I was getting lots of errors, lots of data errors. It was making the sounds not work properly, and it was just a mess. You couldn't record into it. It would play out something that had already been recorded, no problem. And I thought, was this interrupt requests? And I did loads of adjustments on that, couldn't get it to work. And then I just had a thought, and that was, is the base address of the sound card correct? And I did some research, and I found out sound cards are normally at 220 hex as their base address in the hierarchy of how things are laid out on on a computer, and this being an XT. But you could also use 240, so I changed it to 240 in my autoexec.bat file, and I changed it in the settings, and bingo, everything's working. When I plug a keyboard in now, I'm getting all the right sounds, I'm not getting notes hanging, and it all appears to be working okay. So that means, hopefully at the end of this video, I may well be able to compose a little bit of music to end the video. But I've got a few other things I want to do on the computer. I've bought a few little bits of software that I'm going to install. I'm also going to check the hard disk and do a few other little bits and bobs, and hopefully we'll probably finish the series on this video about this computer. So let's get to the computer. And again, like the last couple of videos, it's kind of been filmed over a few days, so you know, I might be doing some things in daylight, some things at night time, and I'll probably have about 10 different t-shirts. I thought it might be a good idea to check the hard drive, so I made a bootable floppy disk with DOS 6.22 on it and the ScanDisk utility. Now I ran ScanDisk and it did all the usual sort of file structure checks and things, and everything came out tickety-boo. So I decided I would also do a full system scan just to make sure there was no bad sectors or anything on the hard drive. And currently running, and it's not found any bad sectors yet, and it's probably about halfway through all the data that's actually on the disk. And if you look at the cluster layout of the disk, I'm going to guess that at some point this disk had been properly formatted and a few bits reloaded, but then it hadn't had a lot of use since, because there's no random sort of clusters after the main portion of data. So you would expect a computer that's done a lot of work to have these things sort of dotted around the place, but they're not. It's almost as if something like it had been defragged. But as it was running DOS 3.3 and defrag didn't exist, then it's very unusual for it to be this clean. Fortunately though, because this drive is only 30 megabytes, it's not going to take too long to go through. I think altogether this will take about 10 minutes. This is now trundling on very nicely, and it's gone past all of the actual data, and it's not found any bad sectors at all. So give this another few minutes and then I think we're done. And we're just coming up to the end now. And there we have it. ScanDisk did not find any problems on drive C. That is fantastic. Now we have some really great websites like WinWord, for example, where you can literally download any bit of software that you could possibly think of to run on an old computer. And if not, places like Archive.org have got tons of abandonware software as well. But if you don't want to go onto WinWord or Archive.org, you can always buy original discs. And I picked this up for £5 off eBay the other day. Now this is, I think, version 4 of Microsoft Word for DOS. So we've got 3 discs here, which are the actual installation discs. And then there's another couple of discs here, which is software to teach you how to use Microsoft Word. And I've never had a version of Word for DOS. I've never used a version of Word for DOS. I've used WordPerfect, but not Word. So I thought it would be fun to install this into the XT and have a little look at it. Now I've got the computer set up here, and it's really great that I've been able to get this thing to work, and you can possibly just see there, but you can see that the base I/O on my sound card now is at 240 hex, as I mentioned earlier, and that way the sound card is now working for the music. But the job in hand is Microsoft Word, so I suppose I should really back these up first, but you know, I'm just going to go hell for leather and we're going to put one in and see if it works. So if I go directory of A, and you can see looking at the screen that we've got everything here, and I guess we probably just type in Word to set it up. So if I type in Word, it's a command file. It's not working, so or maybe it's make PRD. Let's try that. Hang on a second, I need to go to the A drive, don't I? So if I type in Word in the A drive and see if that's a program to do something. The disk drive certainly got some activity. Oh my word. I think well, there you go. It's actually running as a program. It's not actually installed, which is really interesting. So yeah, everything's kind of loaded up. I had to wait for it to load up, but yeah, there's our program. So it actually does run off a floppy disk. Now, if I look at the disk, it's actually saying program disk and thesaurus, disk 1 of 3. Then the second disk says utilities setup disk and Microsoft spell. So it may be that if you want to do an installation, you actually have to do it off disk 2, which is really interesting. So if I'm going to press Q for quit, escape, quit there, no to lose edit. And it's probably wanting the disk back in the disk drive, which I will put in the disk drive now. Because I think, yeah, there we go. So yeah, so Word actually runs off a floppy disk, and a 720K floppy disk at that. That's really interesting. But what I really want to do is install it to the hard drive and have it in full capacity. So this says program disk and thesaurus disk 1 of 2. This one was utilities setup disk 2. And this one is something else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put disk 2 in, and we'll just see what's on that disk. Because it may be we just actually have to copy everything. Now that's got a setup exe on it there. So if I go setup, and what I'm guessing is it probably will need disk 1 to copy some of the files off. Set up to hard disk H. Setup host, you set up your hard disk by copying necessary programs, telling Word what kind of printer you have, copying the learning Word programs if desired, copying the mouse software if desired. Setup gives you step-by-step instructions. When you're ready to continue, press C. So we're pressing C now. Copy Word program to the hard disk. W. Please type the full path and directory. So I'm going to call it Word. Press the Enter key. This is OK. So it's going to say C Word directory. If this is OK, proceed to continue. Yeah. Setup is now ready. Compact Word in hard disk. So we put the Word program thesaurus disk into drive A. So that is going to be disk 1. So yeah, the disk that runs on its own, it now wants as a thing. So press continue. What I'm guessing is that this installation program is basically just a very simple installer that just copies files across. I don't think there's any unpacking or anything as such. But, you know, it's good to have have it all working. As I said, I didn't have the instructions for this, so it's just been a case of, you know, playing it by ear, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. So yeah, it's gradually copying across. You can hear the hard disk flapping away, and because I did that scan disk, I know that the hard disk at the moment is working fine. Now, I don't know how long this hard disk is going to last. It might last for the next 5 years. It might last for 2 weeks. I've got no idea. So I'm just using it at the moment. But what I'll do, once I've installed this and some other software that I've got, I'll do another backup using fast links. Okay, setup cannot complete word thesaurus to hard disk. You can either return to main menu quit or return to main. Cannot complete copying word and thesaurus. Return to the main menu. Did I put the right disk in? Yeah, program disk and thesaurus. I mean, it certainly worked because the oh, that's really weird. If you're using setup for the first time, do these in order. So W. Let's try it again. Press the enter key. Continue. Continue. And we'll just let that run again. Now, it was making some funny noises on the floppy drive, so I don't think it liked it very much. So I'm going to try and manually copy these files across. So I'm now manually copying the files across. It only copied across some of the things, including that big exe program that was on the disk. But we know that program did work because it let me copy it across. Or it let me run it, rather. Right, it's not liking this disk now. I hope I didn't damage it by running it, but just having a little look at the disk in there, and nothing looks scratched or damaged. So I'm going to try retry. Okay, well, I managed to manually copy that file across, that mkprd, and if I now do a dir of the C drive, and I now do a dir of the A drive, so we've got Word 51710, yeah, that one, yeah, that's the same, A52512, WFBG. Now this is interesting because on the C drive, on the A drive rather, that's a bigger file than the one on here, so I don't think that's copied across. So I'm going to go copy A drive wfbg.sin, and then that file not cow wfb, oh, I've typed it in wrong. Copy wfbg.sin. Actually, I need to copy it from the A drive. If I just do this, wfbg.sin. Okay, let's see if we can copy that file across separately, because it might have been this temporary file that it didn't like. Or it might be this file, because it's definitely making some funny noises on the hard drive. Yeah, it doesn't like that file. Now, if I just type in Word, let's just see if it will run anyway, because that might be a file that we don't actually need. Well, it seems to work. So if I go, this is a test. Testing, and then go, if we tap this, hit the, do I press the Alt button or Control or Shift? Don't quite know how to get to the commands. Copy, delete, unless I press the function key. Not sure. Oh, I pressed the escape key. So press the escape key. Go options. What have we got here? Menu, display, yes. Display graphics, default tab width. Screen borders, cursor, printer display. Speller, word. If I go, so if I press escape and I go to print to a file, so you can save this as a file in the print. That's quite handy. So if I go print to a file and I call this test. Right, so if I now go escape and go quit, yes to save. Try that again. Escape, quit. Yes to save. Escape, quit. No to lose edits. Okay, if I do a DIO on there, I've got my test in there. So if I go edit, test, we're going to look at this on the DOS text editor. And yeah, and it's just saved it as a text file there when I did that print. So doing a print saves something as a text file, so that's quite handy. So you can use Word as a text editor. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm now going to go to the A drive and I'm going to go and put the setup disk back in again. As I said, this file here, this WFBG, I don't know what that is. I'll look it up in a minute, but if I go into the setup again, I'm going to see if we can load in other things. Oh, have I got the wrong disk in there? That's the program disk. Oh, this is the setup disk here. So that's the setup disk. Okay, so I'll type in setup. So I'm going to assume that I've got Word in. Turn the camera a bit. Set up to hard disk, yes. Continue. So copy. I don't need the learning word, the spell program. So type in S for spell check. You need to type the directory path you want spell to copy to. So it's going to be into Word. Continue. So please set the spelling utilities disk. Program disk and thesaurus. Printer disk. It must be this one that's already in there. So if I just press continue, see what happens. So that file that didn't copy across, it may be the thesaurus that wasn't copying across. And it's no great shakes if that's not working. Okay, so that's copied across. But we'll try the thesaurus. So type in Word. Just continue. So it wants the program thesaurus disk, which is this one again. So we'll put that in, see what happens. Continue. Now, if this does copy across okay, then it might be that that actual program that was a different size may have been like another temporary folder or something. Or it might even be one of the files I've already copied across. Yes, I think it could be because it's having trouble reading that file. So it can't copy the thesaurus program. So yeah, I think that's I think that program doesn't work. So printer information, that's certainly something I want to do. Type in Word again. Press C for continue. Find your printer on the list. Go next part of the list, because obviously what I want to do is use my Citizen. IBM laser printers. Okay, so it doesn't have it, but it's got some generic ones. Generic PostScript driver, landscape mode and portrait mode. If we go to the top, Apple Business, I know things like the Epson FX80s and things, I think they would actually work. But I think what I will do, just to be sure, because as I said, I think the one I've got, you can use an equivalent. If I call it generic PostScript driver portrait mode, and so I type in 91, continue. So you want the printer disk now, which is word processing process, setup and spell, program disk and thesaurus, printer disk. So this is the printer disk here. So we'll pop that in. Press continue. Hopefully that's not going to be a very big file because it's just a printer driver. So if I want to have additional printers, so if I type in P and then I go down the list again, I might stick in the Epson FX80 because I think that might be an equivalent for my printer. Just put that. So we'll turn to the menu now. So we've done the printers, mouse information to the hard disk. I'm not sure I need to do that because I'll just try. If you already have a mouse driver in your hard disk set up, we'll replace it with a new one. No, I don't want to replace it with a new one. So I'm going to quit now. So I'm going to go C drive again. Type it in properly. Type in Word. Now the hard disk's making a bit of a funny noise now, which means I hope it's not got something corrupted with me copying stuff across. Or maybe it's just installing things. I might just be installing things. There we go, so we've got everything there. So this is a test. And yeah, the mouse is still working. In fact, if I go... if I highlight something and go copy, hit return, if I got paste, Control V maybe, no, insert from there, don't know, hello, this is, put some bad spelling in there. I don't know why I've got another was that just a separate paragraph? Don't know, this is weird. Don't quite know what I've done there. Options, if we go into options, speller. Oh no, that's just the options for menu, yes. Now, how do is it under library? I protect and run the spell. If we go spell, saving work file. Starts checking document, pressing this one. Okay, so if I type in some... Oh, I've got to type in a name for this, so I'll type in test. Enter Y to create 6. Starting checking the document, pressing this. There we go. Oh, so the spelling check is definitely working anyway. So that's all good. So it's a bit clunky, but that is Microsoft Word for DOS. Now this is another job that you'll probably be very familiar with, is formatting a floppy disk. Now I bought a job lot of floppy disks off eBay the other day. I think I got 80 of them. And oh, so it's got a write protect error. So let me just take the disk out and have a look. Oh yeah, the little notch in here isn't quite in the right place. If I push it right down, then there it's in the right place now. So I'll pop that back in. And then let's just see what's happening. Hopefully it should format, and it should format correctly. Now, if you get an error while it's formatting, it will still, the disk should generally work, but if you have got errors on a floppy, then the errors might come back. And what I would suggest is, if you do have a disk that doesn't format properly, like this one, chuck it in the bin. Because, you know, these are still fairly cheap to get hold of. But actually, the older the discs are, if you've got any floppy disks made before the early 90s, they generally are better quality than the ones from the late 90s, early 2000s. Now, a lot of these discs I bought were actually old cover mount discs from computer magazines, and a lot of them seem to be from like Atari User, Amiga User, that kind of thing. And while they're originally made for a different computer, they will format for a PC very easily. And because this is a 720k drive, I wanted to buy 720k discs just because it makes life easier. Because also, if I format them on a larger capacity drive, they'll still format as 720. Do I want to give it a label? No. And what's the details of this? So if we look at the details here, there is no mention of bad sectors. So that means this is a good disc and it's ready to go. So we will definitely keep this one, and I will go through the other discs, checking them as we go, and any that format okay, I will keep to one side. Well, I wasn't 100% happy with how I loaded in the Word program because of that corrupted disk, which I think's got the thesaurus on. So what I've done is I went onto the WinWord website and I copied to this floppy, which came from a box of discs that I mentioned that I'd bought, which I will talk about in a minute. And so I copied it off WinWord, copied the files onto here using my USB floppy disk, and now if I run the setup program on here, hopefully I will be able to load the thesaurus in off this, and then I know that I've got a good copy. So if I go on to setup on hard disk again, continue, then what we want to do here is the thesaurus. So press T, and that goes into Word. That's okay, C to continue. So program thesaurus disk, which is this one, this is the copy that I've made, and press continue. Now we'll see if it'll actually copy across. And I can hear the floppy drive working, but it's not making any horrible noises. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this actually does work. And interestingly, this disk had 2 less files than the other disk had, so I think those 2 files that were on there possibly were not actually all part of the original installation. Again, you know, these discs are like nearly 40 years old, these original ones. And it's still copying. It's done it. It's now copied it across. And that's great because it means now I've got a good disc one for this set, and I will get my Dymo label maker out and I will label this disc and write protect it. And I've got a proper set of Word discs, so that's all good news. Now here's the pile of floppy disks that I mentioned, and I've gone through all of them. Now these are all PC formatted, or I say PC formatted, the PC can read them, but some of it's a bit gobbledygook, which makes me think it might have been used with an emulator on another machine. Possibly someone had an Amiga or an ST with a PC emulator on. These ones here do not read in my PC, but that's because they're almost definitely formatted for a different machine. Now 3 of these from this collection I have tried to format, and 2 have worked fine and 1's duff. So at the moment we're not doing too badly, but these are the ones that are more interesting, and it's because of the labels really. So this one was from ST Action magazine, Games Disc 17, and so it's got some games for the ST. This one's called the PC Home Mega Disc, and it's got some bits of software on it. It's got a C compiler and Norton backup and a few other bits and bobs. I think some of these are available on the net. You can download them, and I wouldn't mind downloading an image of that and copying it across just to make that original again. because these have all been, a lot of these have been written over. Now, Stamped, the disc-based magazine, never heard of this, but we seem to have some of these for ST and Amiga in this collection. And here's another one, the Southwest Software Library. And this is obviously a homebrew computer software firm, probably distributing shareware. And if you don't know what shareware is basically when you would have software that was either demo versions or a version you could use in full, but if you wanted to keep it, you then sent some money off. And they were distributed on floppy disks like this. And there was loads of shareware that I used to use over the years. Now this one here is called the One Exclusive Populous Scenery Disc. I have no idea what the One is, but it was for the ST or the Amiga, looking at the label on there, so not a lot of use to me. Move and pick out high quality games previously unreleased. These are not budget games. Again, no idea who that software company is, but I think it's good to keep these because, you know, it's a little bit of history. And here's another one, Stamped, the disc-based magazine, but this is for the ST. Now I think the other one was for the ST as well. And yeah, that's issue 2 ST disc 1 and that's issue 2 ST disc 2. So you probably came in pairs when you bought these. And yeah, so you know, this is a nice little set of discs really. Now, as I said, these ones here that I've got will read on the PC, but again, I've got no idea actually what the stuff is. I think these might be cheats for games. I think it's more likely what's on these. But this other pile here, well, these are going to be good to use. So I'm going to, in time, go through them and format them all. Any that don't work, I will chuck, and any that are fine, I'll keep. So I'm going to start formatting and we'll see how we go. Well, this is pretty good. This is the 22nd disc I think are formatted now. And this is only the second one that says it's got bad sectors. So that disc will go in the bin and I'll format another. But it's pretty good yield that I've bought 80 discs and most of them so far seem to be okay. Anyhow, let's pop another disc in and format another. And this one's actually hanging, so this one's going to be a duffer as well. Okay, I'm just filming this on my stills camera because I can't bother to get the big camera out because this is a bit I forgot to film. On the Amstrad, I was able in the end to get MIDI to work properly. Now, the problem was I had the wrong base address for the sound card. I've just got a Boss DR5, which is a drum machine effectively, but it's also got keyboard sounds as well, some brass sounds as you can hear there. And I'm using the Swing as an input keyboard. And if I select different things on the computer, if I go to track 1 and I just highlight it, then we've got this piano sound. If we go to track 2, we've got this bass sound. Track 3's got a brass sound, which is... Now, unfortunately, I can't get the DR5 to change patch sounds for some reason. I don't know why. It's either a fault or I'm not doing something properly. Anyway, if we go to the drums on track 10, we've got those. So I've just made a very, very basic track, which is using keyboard, the bass and the drums, and it goes like this. Okay, I'm not going to do too much more now to the Amstrad. It's almost where I want it to be. But there are a couple of little things I'm going to try. And the first thing I'm going to do is what's in the contents of this box. And it comes with a little note that says, "Nice to meet you." And if you feel anxious about our product, please do not open the dispute or leave feedback. Please contact us first. We must offer you satisfactory solutions. Well, that's nice, I suppose. But anyway, what we want is what's in here. And what's in here should be a chip. And I bought this off eBay the other day. And it is an 8087 coprocessor. And it's used, but it does look like a genuine part. I mean, it may be a fake, I'm not sure, but what we'll do is we'll get the old isopropyl alcohol out and we'll see if we can wipe that off. And if it does wipe off, then we know it might be a fake, but I don't think it is. I think it's real. And also, the seller had feedback for selling other chips like this, and it's all good feedback, but I'm pretty sure it's genuine. Quick squirt of the old IPA and give it a quick little rub. And yeah, that looks like it's a genuine chip to me. So what we're going to do, we're going to pop this into the machine. Right down here we've got our main processor here, and here's our slot for our coprocessor. Now, I think this processor has been used because I don't know how well you can see that, but the legs look like they've been desoldered from something. So yeah, I think this has been used, but they're all straight. And so it's going to be a case of gently pushing the chip into its little slot and hoping. Oh, actually, it's going in okay. Yep. Yep, I think that one's in. So we're going to fire the machine up now, make sure it still works. Okay, so it's loaded up. So if I type in device, PC3086, serial parallel port, display adapter, multi-frequency mode disabled, blah, 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 disk drive adapters, maths coprocessor 8087 fitted. So there we go, it's seeing the coprocessor. This is good news. And this was the last thing I bought. Now it just looks like an ordinary box, and you can probably tell it's a big box, software box. And if we open up, we've got a manual here, and that's a DOS 5 manual. So this is a legit set of DOS 5. But what it also came with is some other discs. So we've got our MS-DOS discs here, is discs 1 to 3. But then we've got a set of Microsoft Windows discs. Now this is Windows 3.0, not Windows 3.1. And the main advantage with this is this will actually run on 640k of memory, and it also makes use of the 8087 maths coprocessor. So with a bit of luck, we should get Windows running on this very, very old machine. We're all booted up into DOS then, and I've got my discs here, so I'm going to stick in the first disk and type in A drive setup and see what happens. Windows setup. Doesn't look much different to later versions of Windows setup, to be honest. It looks no difference for 95 or whatever. To install Windows on your computer now, press enter. Setup is determined that your system includes the following hardware and software on your computer network, blah, blah, blah. MS-DOS, yet VGA, no mouse or other pointing device. Well, it does have a mouse. Logitech, Micros. Other, that's what we've got. Okay, Z drive. There we go, Microsoft Amstrad mouse. There we go. Keyboard layout, British. Language, English American. It should be English International. I I think it's English International. That's what we're going to put in anyway. So it's found our mouse, everything else is in there, enter continue. So now it should be just copying across all of our files. And it shouldn't take that long, bearing in mind these disks. Please insert Microsoft Windows disk 1. Right, so it should be A drive. Okay. I think it probably defaulted to the C drive then, because I actually was in the C drive when I ran the setup program, but you can see it's gradually copying programs across. I suppose the only thing I didn't do was think about a printer driver, but I can do that, I think, if I get Windows working, because I should be able to put the Citizen driver in for it, and if not, then I can probably download a Citizen driver for Windows. So I think the Citizen printer did come with a driver disk. Well, it's asking for disk 2, I'm just going to wait for the little light to go out. And in goes disk 2. And we'll just carry on like this until hopefully we've got everything loaded. Oh, hello, this is a bit of a worry when the screen goes black. Has it completely failed? It might have done. Yeah, I'm going to reboot and see if we can start again. Well, my hunch is there was possibly something wrong with that disk. I mean, the disk is over 30 years old. In fact, it's nearly 35 years old. So what I'm doing is I'm fast linking over a copy of Windows 3 setup that I got off WinWorld, and we're going to see if that will actually install running it from the C drive. So let's copy it across and then we'll do another install. With those files copied across then, if we go into our directory, cd win setup, and type in setup, let's see what we get. Above all things, it should certainly run a lot faster to set up. Okay, let's do the mouse again. Change that to C. Driver's not found. That's not good. Right, it was round about here before where it was doing the VGA drivers that it went a bit weird. Right, here we go. It's throwing up a lot of errors. I don't think it wants to work. I think we can count that as a fail. Now, let's just hope that the computer will still boot. Because if it won't, then we've completely knackered it. But at least we tried, at least we tried. Windows was just that one step too far. Right. Let's get into DOS shell and let's delete all this stuff that we've done, because it obviously doesn't like it, and we don't want to keep rubbish on the computer if we don't need it. Well, anyhow, we didn't get Windows to work, but that was kind of an extra really. But everything else I wanted to do on this machine is working absolutely perfectly. Really happy that Cakewalk works. And of course, the main reason for this machine was to be able to play Frogger, of course. Thanks for watching the video. Catch you on the next one.